What's up, everybody? How's it going? And welcome to another live episode of the Hot Mic on a special day here, Wednesday instead of Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it madly. I'm one half of the Hot Mic team here, the Outlaw John Rocha, joined as always by the Sneider himself, Jeff Sneider. How are you, Jeff? Fresh from your trip to Boston, back in L.A.?
Oh, I'm fresh, Johnny boy! It's good to see you, baby. Yes, I smell like the beach. I'm wearing Kramer's cologne. I had a great time, down in Massachusetts and in Cape Cod for the 4th with my brother and his in-laws. And
nice.
Yeah, good to be back, though. Good to be back.
You smell like copper tone is what you're saying. Copper tone is what you're saying you smell like. Is that what?
Yeah, exactly. I don't wear anything at the beach. I'm probably screwed later in life.
I saw some pictures of you hanging out. Is that your niece or is that you? Who is that you hang out with? Take pictures. Who's the young lady, the young girl that you hang out with there?
That's my girlfriend.
No,
Yes, I have two beautiful nieces.
Yeah.
One is turning 5 in September. One just turned 2, and
nice.
They are a handful. It was great to spend some time together.
Nice. All right, so I'm having some weird YouTube internet issues, so just want to make sure. Okay, good. All right, the chat's popped up now all of a sudden. Great to see everybody. I don't know what was going on there, but we are back functioning correctly here. But yeah, great to see that you had a good time, brother man. Welcome back. And we got so much to talk to here in the world of entertainment. So much we're going to get into. Big news stories, Shawn Levy, Star Wars, Paramount, new trailers, new stories for new projects and everything like that. So just know that that's all coming up, but also want to encourage you all to send in your Streamlabs and your Super Chat so we answer them throughout the show. So that's how we're going to do things here today. And please remember to hit a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and also subscribe to Jeff's newsletter. Jeff, where can they subscribe to your newsletter, brother?
TheInsneider.com. TheInsneider.com. Thank you so much.
And you should subscribe because we're going to start off with the first story, and that, of course, is Shawn Levy's Star Wars situation or Star Wars. This is something you broke, Jeff, but Deadline has confirmed that the Shawn Levy directed Star Wars movie that you broke, is being penned by Jonathan Tropper. So Tropper wrote Levy's Netflix movie, The Adam Project, which starred, Ryan Reynolds, and of course Shawn Levy's his film is coming out soon, Deadpool and Wolverine. He also wrote the Levy-directed Warner Brothers 2014 dramedy, This Is Where I Leave You, and the 2017 Netflix comedy or dramedy Kodachrome. But he's also been an executive producer and showrunner for Banshee and Warrior and Jason Momoa's series C that's on Apple TV Plus, and he's the creator of Apple TV's upcoming series here, Your Friends and Neighbors, with John Hamm, Amanda Peet, and Olivia Munn. So, Jeff, were you surprised by this? I mean, just as a guy that has worked with Shawn before, was this pretty much a foregone conclusion? And what do you think about the hiring of him? Because the Adam Project was okay, but I know people love Warrior. I know people love Banshee. So do you think this is the right move here for this Star Wars story?
I mean, Shawn Levy has a certain tone, and that I don't know is necessarily I don't know what a Star Wars movie in that universe looks like, right?
Yeah.
I'm just try to picture Ryan Reynolds as the lead in a Star Wars movie, basically. I can't really do it. But if that is what they want, right, then it makes sense that Shawn Levy, that was sort of what I got at in the newsletter. Because when Shawn Levy spoke to Variety last fall, he said, "Hey, Kathy Kennedy hired me to make a Shawn Levy movie."
Right.
Okay, and who's been helping him make Shawn Levy movies is Jonathan Tropper, right? Who's written at least 2 of his movies. So yeah, the hire makes sense to me. He's a guy who has experience not just as a showrunner and EP, someone who's used to sticking to a schedule and that kind of thing, but who has film experience as well. And I think that's kind of what they're looking for these days. Whether it's Stephen Knight, some of these hires, I don't think you can just hire TV people to write a movie anymore. It's not so simple. And I know he's best known for his TV stuff, Tropper, maybe, but he has plenty of experience as on the feature side.
Yeah, it's a fascinating resume he's got, because you look at This Is Where I Leave You, which I kind of liked. I remember that one with Adam Driver and Jason Bateman and Tina Fey. I thought that was a really good. I thought it was a very enjoyable film. Whether it was really good or not, I don't remember criticizing it. I just enjoyed the experience. Adam Project less so, but I mean, Warrior is a pretty badass series. Do I think the dialogue veers into cheesiness at times and what have you? Yeah, sure. But Banshees apparently balls out insane. So, do you anticipate that because he's got this ability to tell softer, kind of dramatic stories, combined with these harder edge, like action oriented films or stories, that we're going to get ourselves a bit of a mixture of both in this Star Wars movie? Is that where you see Shawn Levy leaning towards? And does his hiring like give you an idea of where he's going with this Star Wars movie? Like, is this going to be a Rey film? Like, has been rumored or something else? What do you think?
I mean, again, that is what I had heard a while back, right? That it may be focus on an older type of an older Rey or something like that.
Yeah,
so I don't know, what is going on with the other Rey movie. So
right.
I'd also heard that those projects could like fold in on each other at some point. So I don't know what is going on, right?
Yeah.
But I think that so it's not so much as like, oh, this is the movie we want, and this is the perfect guy to write that kind of movie, so much as it is, this is just, Shawn's trusted guy. This is who Shawn wants to work with, and so Shawn gets his guy. And, obviously a bunch of writers often like get involved on these Star Wars projects, right? So like, maybe he'll be rewritten down the line. I don't know. Now with the Banshee of it all, right? And I never watched Banshee. Did you?
No, I've been told by many people to watch it, but it's a John Rocha show. So
I've heard it's really good. But the guy who stars in Banshee is the guy who plays Homelander.
Oh yes, okay.
Right, and so now given right that he's Homelander, right, it kind of feels like, well, he can't really Anthony Starr can't really show up in like a Marvel movie or a DC movie, right? Like the comic book movies are almost off the table for him because he's Homelander, and so maybe. The Star Wars franchise, like he kind of seems like he'd fit into that.
He'd be a great Sith. Holy crap, he'd be a great villain. Oh
yeah, I think he actually would be. So like it would just be interesting if Tropper wrote with something, something with him in mind, and obviously that's a Levy directive, it's not like Tropper can just decide to do that because he worked with the guy once upon a time, but just interesting.
Are you surprised that they're going down this route with Tropper and with Shawn Levy? This is the same studio that kicked Lord and Miller over the side and had their film be redirected by Ron Howard because they felt the rumors were that they behind the scenes that they felt it was too jokey. There were too many jokes. It was too much making fun of the Star Wars material. I mean, if you look through Shawn Levy's resume and looking through Tropper's resume, there's a lot of irreverence in what they write in their projects. So is this does this make sense to you that you would jettison Lord and Miller, but you okay with Shawn Levy and Jonathan Tropper? It seems odd to me.
I mean, I don't think you can look at it like that. Obviously, the Lord and Miller, that's a specific situation with a specific project and the budget and all that entails. And had Lord and Miller done a movie that big before?
No.
They really hadn't.
But neither had the Russos, and they took on Avengers.
Sure. So, but that doesn't mean, everybody's going to react to it the same way. Shawn Levy's a bit more experienced. So
that's fair.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just saying, because I wouldn't compare it unless, but I am, because it happened under Kathleen Kennedy's watch and she's still in charge, which is why I bring it up.
That doesn't mean anyone with a sense of humor in their movies is just going to be jettisoned, right? I mean, he knows who she's hiring.
Yeah, good point.
Ostensibly.
Jim Carrey, there's still a chance. All right, let's move on to anything more you want to say on this? Anything more that you've heard? Anything more Star Wars related that you want to toss out as a tidbit or anything like that?
No, I don't think so at this point. Okay. I'm trying to think.
Have you heard anything about an Acolyte season 2? It's a lot of people have been speculating about that. Leslie Headland has dropped hints about a possibility of a season 2 in interviews recently. Have you heard anything about that, considering all the drama around it?
No, I really haven't been paying attention to any of like the small screen Star Wars stuff.
Okay.
When it comes to that stuff, I'm asking questions about the features,
the bigger stuff. Gotcha. Fair point. All right, let's move on to speaking of big features. Let's move on to Paramount and Skydance. Jeff, let's get this conversation. This is I mean, we've talked about it, touched in on it, had conversations about it. Now it seems like it's official. Paramount will merge with Skydance, closing out a decades-long run by the Redstone family in Hollywood. A new family now replaces them in the Ellison family, with David Ellison, the founder of Skydance, and the son of billionaire Larry Ellison, who founded the software company Oracle, now in charge here. Sherry Redstone's National Amusements has battled to maintain control of the company that owns CBS. And just weeks after turning down an agreement that was very similar to the one they accepted this one. And the company is valued around $28 billion, but I think they're going to invest $8 billion. Ellison and Redbird Capital are into the studio here. So let's just get your take overall first before we get into the specifics and what this could lead to IP wise. What are your thoughts that this has finally happened? You know, Warner Brothers was rumored to be in contention. Byron Allen tried to buy Paramount. Does this make sense to you that they finally settled this with Skydance? And were you surprised by it?
Again, I don't know if it makes the most sense, like out of all the possible buyers that were out there for Paramount. But at the end of the day, I think that they have to be happy that David Ellison and his family, who have deep pockets, are really committed to this, right?
Yeah.
Like, they want to be there. They want to be in this business. They want to make movies. So
yeah,
I think that's like half the battle, is that they don't just see this as like a money-making asset, right? This isn't just something like something that gets them into parties and gets them into Cannes, on the yachts at Cannes. Like, these people are already there. Right. They already have, right. They're already on the inside. So it's not like they're just buying their way into it like we've kind of seen before.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I think it's a good thing. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of layoffs. There's overlap.
That came out today. Yeah.
Skydance also isn't nearly as big as Paramount, so they're still going to need to rely on Paramount's team. But animation. Do I have something on my face? Sorry, I don't know.
Go ahead.
Animation. They have Skydance Animation, which Lasseter runs, and then they have Paramount Animation, which really is not up to par with the other animation companies that are out there. So don't be surprised if there's a lot of layoffs on the Paramount Animation side, because I could see the Skydance team moving in there.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Again, maybe they just merge into one unit.
Yeah.
But it does seem like it'll be Lasseter's people who maybe get the benefit of the doubt. I don't know. I don't want to get people worried about their jobs at Paramount Animation, but
well, I think that's legitimate speculation to make if you're looking at.
I think it's fair.
Yeah, coming into an environment, you're like, what's making money? What isn't making money? What's successful? What isn't? And they've highlighted here, according to a lot of the reports, that there's at least $2 billion in cost cuts that can be made at the company. $2 billion, Jeff. Much of it from its linear media operations. That's according to Jeff Shell, who is slated to be named president of the new entity. So if you are in linear media at Paramount, I think I'd be scared for my job as well. So
but they still need people to run these things, right? If somebody buys BET, who better to run BET than the people who have been running it, Yeah,
right. I mean, this is kind of shocking, isn't it? The Skydance has ballooned to this particular size, considering where they started just a few years ago, like 14 years ago, Jeff, relatively new.
15 years ago.
15 years ago. They had Top Gun Maverick, of course, Mission Impossible, a number of other films that they were instrumental in bringing to the big screen. But to be able to build to this ability to take over a Paramount, I think is massive, dude.
Sure. I mean, he's stayed the course too, right? Like, obviously Megan started out hot and heavy, and he was kind of looked at like the redheaded stepchild. Almost like she's making all these great prestige movies, and he's kind of making schlocky blockbusters that aren't even necessarily doing all that well. But he stayed the course, and and she obviously has scaled way down, right? The Annapurna operation. So he kind of got the last laugh there. Not that it's a competition between those two. But I think he makes sense, and obviously he was really touting his technology background and how he was mentored by Steve Jobs, and maybe that's just for Wall Street's benefit, but it does help to have like a younger executive who's sort of tech focused, or at least has an eye on that stuff in a way that a 65, 70-year-old executive probably just doesn't concern themselves with.
Yeah, I mean, and his dad is the founder of Oracle, so there's already tech in his blood, so it's second nature to him. And they did talk about, they're going to lean into the AI stuff. That was one of their quotes as well, Jeff. So I think getting someone who is this connected to a tech billionaire makes it even more of a possibility that Paramount will be one of these companies on the forefront of ingratiating AI into their projects, and so we're going to see that as this goes forward. And one of the other things is that they included plans to rebuild the Paramount Plus streaming service. So that tells me that they're going to keep this thing going, reinvest in it, Star Trek and whatever.
Like, they should. There's growth there. I mean, I think they have Taylor Sheridan. Is there a hotter name in television?
Yeah, right. Good point.
I'm looking forward to that Landman series that they
the Billy Bob Thornton one.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to join Lioness and Mayor of Kingstown, which has been really good this season, and Tulsa King, which is coming back in the fall. So, I think that there's a lot to like there at Paramount Plus, and they're going to make CBS and those offerings sort of the central part of it. They said, and that was a big fear initially, was that they're going to get rid of CBS.
Right.
So I don't think that's the case. I think that they see CBS as really central to the mission. I offered some advice to them earlier this week in one of my columns. It was just like, doubling down on horror movies. Right, you saw that they won the bidding war for Possession this week.
Yes,
with Robert Pattinson. So double down on horror movies. Like, that's the guy who did Smile. Like, that's a hit franchise for you guys. Invest in him.
Right.
Someone like Ty West, like A24 can't offer him Paramount money. Like, try to go get Ty West off this trilogy. Double down on comedy. Right, you have Trey Parker and Matt Stone. You're doing a new Naked Gun movie.
Yeah,
right. Make the comedies, right, that other studios aren't making. And to that point, I was talking to somebody today at lunch. Like, we needed the next Judd Apatow, who can corral, because there's so much. Think of all like the people on podcasts who are super like funny and like all these comedians. There's a lot of talent out there, but there's no Judd Apatow who's corralling these people and putting them together and saying, let's go make a movie together.
Yeah.
Right. They all kind of have to figure it out themselves. And that's why you get Shane Gillis making a TV show like Tires, which, God bless him, made him millions of dollars. Right. He probably made it for $2 or $3 million and sold it for $5 million to Netflix. But like, not a good show. That show will get better next year because it'll have Netflix backing. Other things to do at Paramount, like, you got to invest in talent, which is what they're obviously saying. And I think you got to let Taylor Sheridan, as great as he is on TV, and he's powering Paramount Plus and all these shows, let this guy write some fucking movies again, John.
Yeah, true. Yeah. He might need to write a new one for a certain somebody we're going to get to in a little bit. What do you think happens, though? By the way, those are all great suggestions, Jeff. Absolutely. Reading your column there on it was really informative. What do you think happens to George Cheek? George Cheeks here, the CEO of CBS, Chris McCarthy, the CEO of Showtime, and Brian Robbins, who were essentially brought in to be a troika of leaders in Paramount for after Bakish was replaced. So do they start to look at finding a new home, or do you think they'll kind of play second fiddle to Ellison? What do you think happens here?
I feel like these guys have been doing a decent job of minding the shop, given the hand that they were dealt, right? They inherited basically like a mountain of shit, almost like a company with real problems. And I think Brian Robbins has done a decent job, even though he's still looked at as like, oh, the guy from, what was it, Head of the Class or something? Or, like, I think Brian has done a good job. I think if you're Ellison, you look at those three guys and how they've responded over the last few months and what their plans were. And like, are you impressed by them and this initiative? And like, have these three guys shown that they can work together? Or is it just like, listen, you've done a great job. Thank you for your service. We're going to bring in our own guy now.
Yeah. I wonder. And I wonder if they will want to, kind of take the lower ring on the totem pole here. Because it's different when you got three guys and they're all equal. Then we bring.
They want to hang around for sure. They would love to stick around if they are allowed to. I think. I don't think it's about we don't want to work under Ellison or Jeff Shell.
Okay, all right. So you think that'll happen?
I think that they would for sure. But yeah, I it'll be interesting to see whether they stay. I doubt it.
Right.
Historically, people clear house and bring in their own.
Yeah, it seems like that's the way it would go. So you got Mission Impossible, you got Top Gun, you got Transformers, you got G.I. Joe, you got Star Trek, you got Jackass. Is that enough IP? Do they need to go get more? Remember, they distributed the first couple of Marvel movies, Iron Man and Hulk.
I mean, it doesn't grow on trees, IP, right? You have like the IP that you have. I mean, you wait for a big book to come out or a big, comic book. I mean, it's tough to just get IP. You have to, maybe look to the library. I'm sure that there's stuff and you're starting to see like what did they announce? Miles Teller in Officer and Gentleman.
Yeah, that
Right,
remake.
Naked Gun. Like they are going back to the library, I think,
Yeah.
because you're right. There is an IP problem.
Yeah.
One thing real quick about who would run this stuff, right? If those executives do leave, that column was something I wrote a couple months ago, and I put out names like Sean Bailey who ran Disney, and Scott Stuber who ran Netflix. But at the time, when I wrote that column, someone did reach out to me and be like, you should really consider Dana Goldberg. Dana Goldberg has been David's number 2 at Skydance.
Right.
And maybe she is the one who inherits Brian Robbins' job.
Oh, yeah. Huh. Interesting. I remember 2 years ago, we saw Brian Robbins at CinemaCon. I know, and he was delivering, or he was there to holding court and talking about where he wanted to take Paramount, and had that speech he delivered, and now possibly he's out. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
He's a younger executive. I had lunch with him at CinemaCon that year, along with Richard Rushfield of the Ankler, and I really like Brian. I think he's a smart guy. I think he's done a good job, but it's a matter of whether they're going to want their own person.
It's business, man. Yeah,
right. Nothing personal.
Do you think they reinvest in theatrical features? Because you look at this, their output has declined in recent years. Last year, they only released 8 new movies, came in 5th place in the box office behind Universal, Disney, and Warner Brothers. And they were miles behind them, like double digits behind them in terms of the amount of movies they put out. So do you think now they start to churn out more of these movies and theatrical features and start focusing on competing with these studios matching their outputs because of the amount of money that's going to be reinvested in Paramount?
I mean, you could, but I don't think that's Paramount. I think that
I
don't think Paramount needs to be Warner Brothers or Universal or that size. You can operate a little bit smaller like a Sony and be a little bit more nimble.
Okay.
That's what I would do. And you can pick your spots on the calendar, right? Rather than we've got 12 movies and we got to find 12 dates for them. Well, I think it's easier when you just have 8 and it's like, well, let's make really strategic choices here.
Yeah, possibly make 8 really good movies and then release them strategically where we can release them to get the optimal amount of return on the box office. Do you see anything changing in terms of what do you see the vision that from Ellison? He is a creative exec. A lot of people are saying this is the first time in a long time that a creative exec has been in charge of a studio. So do you envision that we're going to see kind of a renaissance in how Paramount approaches the IP or the projects and the IP that it is selecting and getting behind? Are they going to be finding new artists? As you said, these are not the kind of people that need to do this so they can get into parties. Are they going to be hunting for new and inventive ways to do the studio business going into a new decade or a half decade? Yeah,
I don't think you're going to see them reinvent the wheel. I think you got to stick with what works. I think you're going to go back to those movies of the 80s and the early 90s and start to remake those. Like Ghost will happen. Ghost remake will happen. Yeah. Okay. They've announced that with I think Channing.
Okay.
So no, I don't think you have to reinvent the wheel, but you also look at the movies that David produced, like what interested him. Like you're going to see more of that kind of stuff. Okay. And that may include Terminator, like never Terminators like Goonies, never say die.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it. I mean, they did. I mean, you could redo a Death Wish, even though that Bruce Willis one was out. That's
good. What we need. Who are the 2 biggest horror icons that there are? Who are they?
John Carpenter and Wes Craven.
No, the characters.
Oh, Freddy and Jason, right?
Where the fuck have these guys been the last decade and a half? Where are these guys? I mean, if you're Paramount, I don't know what the holdup is, if it's you or if it's Warner Brothers, because you share the rights, I believe.
Yeah.
But buy them out and go make a fucking Jason movie. That's what I would do. That's what I would spend money on. I mean, if you're looking at Universal that's spending $400 million on Exorcist rights.
Yeah.
It should be like $100 million to buy fucking Warner Brothers out of a Friday the 13th franchise. it seems worth it to me. And if you hustle, trying to beat that A24 series that is really struggling, like that is sitting there, an opportunity to reinvent Jason Voorhees. You're gonna let A24 do it on TV, or are you gonna step up and fucking do it on the big screen where Jason belongs?
That's a good point. It's a good point. I'm looking at their IP. What you got? Jack Ryan. You can play around with that. Start a whole new Jack Ryan series, right? They had.
I guess they have the film. Yeah, I mean, Amazon does the TV.
Right, Amazon does the TV. You've got Meet the Parents. You could totally reboot that for a new generation. The Ring is under Paramount's franchise.
There are rumors about The Ring.
Scream. If you're going to reboot it, what do you wait now?
Well, that's a Spyglass thing. That's the problem, and they should reboot. I mean, again, I don't know what we're doing here with Nev Campbell, but maybe this is the we're going to make one last Nev Campbell movie, and then whatever.
Do you bring back Eddie? I mean, Eddie did Beverly Hills Cop and Nutty Professor under the Paramount umbrella. We just had a Beverly Hills Cop that is getting really good reviews and high numbers in watchability there on Netflix. So do you start to explore the possibility of bringing Eddie in to do a theatrical feature, or is that a little too old to bring him back to you?
I think the audience has moved on. Eddie ain't what he used to be. I would focus on the next generation. Get Donald Glover's next movie.
Do you hand the fedora off with Indiana Jones, or do you let that die with Harrison Ford?
That's Lucasfilm.
Yeah, but I know, but they work with Paramount to distribute it. So, like, do you think Paramount would be open to that possibility of working or making that happen? What do you think? No?
I mean, I think a new Indiana Jones is probably an inevitability, but like not for like 10 years, not until after Harrison's probably gone.
Fair point. Well, sadly, your Crow is already being remade, so there's no going back on that one. All right, let's. What do we want to talk about here? We got a couple of minutes. Let's move on to this X-Men 97. So we'll keep tabs on it on Paramount and Skydance, obviously, and have some conversations as it comes along. X-Men 97 has a new writer. This has been announced here, exclusive from Nelly Andreva over at Deadline. Matthew Chauncey, who was the executive story editor of the What If series, has been tapped to write season 3 of Disney's X-Men 97, taken over from Beau DeMayo, who left or was let go by Marvel for reasons we still don't 100% know officially. He will work alongside X-Men 97 director Jake Castorena, who has been on the animated follow-up from the start. Season 3 is in development as we speak. Obviously, season 2 is already done and will be coming out at some point soon. But he wrote 3 episodes of Marvel's live-action series for Disney's Ms. Marvel, and as I said, he was the story editor and writer and producer on What If. So, do you like this choice, Jeff? I know you probably haven't seen any of these episodes of What If or Ms. Marvel, but an interesting choice to go from Beau DeMayo to Matthew Chauncey. It seems like you're going a safer route with Matthew Chauncey.
Again, people hiring someone who knows how to work in the system, who knows the Marvel way, if you will.
Yeah.
A trusted collaborator at this point, which is really all you're looking for with X-Men 97, I think, is someone who can bring some stability to that production, which probably, got rocked by those allegations. And, I'm sure that it'll have reverberations in the creative, but, they want as seamless a transition as possible. And so, I think that's why he makes sense to me.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah, I like the idea. I like What If. I really enjoyed both seasons of that series, and certainly they made commentary like Beau DeMayo did in X-Men 97, some social commentary in some of their episodes. So you won't lose that element. I really doubt it'll go as hard as Beau DeMayo did. So it is going to be interesting to see what their X-Men 97 season 3 will be all about. And I'll be curious to see with season 2 if that's going to hit as hard as season 1 did. So, but as you said, it stays within the family. They know him. He's a known quantity in animation. So the transition is going to be a lot smoother to go that route for sure. All right, let's take a quick break, Jeff. And on the other side, we'll jump into some more stories here. Anything else you want to say before we move on to the break?
No, I'm going to go grab another soda.
Okay, grab another soda. We'll be right back right after this. I should play, you know what? I'll just play music here. All right, we're back. Let's get back into things. Here you go. There you got your soda. Let's get to this. Jeff, we had a bunch of trailers that came out over the last few days, over the weekend as well. We had the Gladiator II trailer that came out a couple days ago. We had the F1 trailer that came out over the weekend. Fantastic new trailer, A24 trailer with Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield. We Live in Time, which is very reminiscent of About Time. And the Time Bandits trailer from Apple TV Plus came out as well. So your thoughts on the Gladiator 2 trailer? That was 3 minutes of the trailer. We also got the Agatha trailer, but I don't know if you watched that one or care about that one. But let's start with Gladiator 2. What did you think of that trailer? How much of this footage have you seen exactly?
They showed us about 5 minutes worth at CinemaCon, and this trailer was missing some of that footage, like, you know, the wild monkeys and some other stuff. So what I saw at CinemaCon, I think I liked a little bit more. Again, while I understand why they went with that Jay-Z and Kanye song, because the lyrics fit and they say the word Coliseum in the song, like, it doesn't go with the footage. Right? I mean, you just don't. You're not trying to market Gladiator 2 as like a Fast and Furious movie, like, and you're gonna see that corrected in the next trailer. I almost guarantee it. They're gonna go back to, you know, the choral chanting and the stuff that made Gladiator Gladiator. I mean, that's what we want to see. You know, like, I just don't. I don't understand using like a song like that for a movie like this. But otherwise, I thought it looked good. I mean, Paul Mescal looks solid. Pedro Pascal and Denzel stole the whole thing, right? That's who everyone's talking about. Yeah,
that's true. That's true. But like, there. Okay, first of all, I liked it. My trailer reaction is up on the channel if anybody hasn't seen it, wants to watch it. But I liked it.
Guys, it's the thumbnail, right? If you're looking for which video it is, it's the thumbnail where John goes.
Exactly. Yeah. You know what? We all got to pay our bills. So, you know, those who sit on the sideline judge. But listen, this is the thing about the whole thing with Gladiator 2. I was, you know, I'm one of these people that had my arms folded when this was announced, right? Like, I'm like, do we really need it? He fucking died at the end of the first one. Okay, you're going to bring back the kid. All right, Paul Mescal, I don't know him yet. We'll see what happens. 2 years later, here we go. Here's a trailer. Denzel's in it. Dude, I mean, Denzel is just so fantastic in the clips that we saw here. And you've got Pedro Pascal looking pretty badass as well. You've got Heckinger and Quinn, who've become names now over the last few years. So, you know, when you first cast this one, there's probably not a lot of names that would be known globally. Now there's a lot of names that are known globally from these younger actors. So I like this mixture. Mescal looks fantastic. The cinematography here, the scenes, the stuff, the sea battles in the Coliseum and outside the Coliseum. It's a revenge film, all of it. And then you've got people with ulterior motives all over this trailer, right? We clearly, Mescal's is about revenge. Connie Nielsen shows up as his mom, which is pretty awesome, reprising that role. But what's Denzel's desire here? Does he want to take over Rome? What's happening here? And where does Pedro fit? Because in one scene, he's against the two emperors, and they don't want to waste a whole generation of young men on useless war. But then he's fighting Paul Mescal in the arena. So what is the truth here? And you've got the two emperors acting like utter fools. So I like that there's a lot of questions from this trailer that gets me intrigued to see what more we're going to get. I didn't mind the Jay-Z and Kanye West song because that's a pretty fucking badass song. So I thought it fit for what they were going for, but I also reserve other people having an issue with it, judgment for other people.
I like the twin emperors. I think that they're like, you know, like a couple of hyenas. Those two. Yeah, you know, maybe that'll be the junket. They'll do a sea battle in the Coliseum. It'll you know, they'll pit all us bloggers against each other.
It could be possible. What did you think though of the Denzel situation? There's been some pushback online on social media. People upset that Denzel sounds like he's a cop from New York in the trailer, and people at that smile and the clap, and it's like Denzel just being Denzel. It's taking me out of the movie. So there has been some pushback, along with some praise for Denzel being in the film. What do you think about the pushback here of Denzel being in the movie?
Totally ridiculous. I mean, come on. Denzel's going to be Denzel. Yeah, I did kind of think watching that trailer, he's going to be like, let me get 2 hot dogs. He just turns to Paul Mescal. He's like, you get wet? I don't care. I don't need him. It doesn't need to be historically accurate. I don't need him to have a Roman accent, whatever the fuck that is.
Yeah. which is usually British, right? So, what are people talking about?
Really.
And of course, if you study the history, Black people were a part of the history of Rome, all of that happened over there in that area of the world during those times. So go and study your history. This idea that Denzel somehow out of place, I think, is beyond ridiculous.
Black people? What? In Rome?
Yeah. Well, yes, exactly. Take a look. All right. So what did you think of F1 though? That was more of a teaser trailer beginning with him and Kerry Condon, and then it's a bunch of sequences, some actual real footage from Formula One mixed in with footage from the movie, and then we get shots of Tobias Menzies, Javier Bardem, Brad and his and Damson Idris and Kerry Condon. So what do you think of this as a teaser trailer to get people excited for the movie?
I thought it was a pretty good teaser. I thought it was pretty effective. I don't know what people wanted. I mean, yeah, We Will Rock You is a bit of a lazy choice. It's like, yeah, of course the song's gonna amp you up. You could, show me washing dishes or something set to that song, and people would be like, fuck yeah, he's about to wash the fuck out of those dishes. So yeah, a bit of an easy choice, but I don't know what people were expecting for a year in advance teaser. It's not the full trailer. You're not getting, full characterizations or anything, or what the storyline is. It's just, this is what this movie is going to look like visually, give you an idea of that. And I think it looks cool.
Yeah, I think it looks cool as well. I really enjoyed it and had fun with it. And I actually misspoke. My trailer reaction is not up on the channel, so I don't know what thumbnail Jeff's you're talking about the Gladiator one. My reaction for this is not up on the channel, but it is up on Twitter because they wouldn't let me post it. F1 blocked it. But I liked it. I like this. Is a good teaser. This gets me excited. It's kind of interesting that Joseph Kosinski does a Top Gun movie, then goes right into a racing movie like Tony Scott did with Top Gun and Days of Thunder. There's a little bit of a connective tissue there, so that's fascinating to see. But this one looked fantastic, and it looks like it's gonna. I don't know. It's just really going to be a film that people have to reckon with, and I wonder where it's going to land when it comes to award seasons or whatever, because it seems like it's approaching this from a more elevated. This doesn't feel like Ford versus Ferrari or Rush. This feels like a film that's trying to actually say something. So I wonder where it's going to end up. What do you think about that?
I don't know if I see it as an awards movie. I didn't really think of it like that, to be honest. But I mean, it could, given Kosinski, how I felt like Kosinski directed the hell out of Top Gun Maverick. You could maybe see Pitt or Javier Bardem or Condon, Condon and Bardem in supporting roles.
Sure.
That could be a good bet. So I don't know. But I dug it a year out, and it's going to get a huge push from F1.
Yeah.
It's funny that you said that they blocked you from doing anything with it. Like, that may be an obstacle. Like F1 may have to fucking relax. Right? Like, dude, you're in the movie business now. Like, you got to be subject to what movie creators do and shit.
Yeah. Because we're promoting your movie for free on our channel. Like, what the hell?
Right. F1 may have to fucking relax, but it's going to give that movie a huge push, and I bet it will be Apple's biggest hit.
Yeah, quite possibly. Quite possibly. We shall see. All right, these two other trailers, man. We Live in Time, this new A24 film with Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield. Did you get a chance to watch that one?
I cried this morning.
Yeah.
I cried this morning watching. I thought it was pretty beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe it's because I just turned 40 and I'm like feeling it. Like, I want to move on with my life. I want to take the next step and X, Y, and Z. But like, it's life is short. That's the message of this movie, and how you got to make every moment count. And
I the Brits do this so well when they're in movies like this. That's my wheelhouse, man. And we haven't got a lot of movies like this like we used to. I'm not talking about romantic comedies. I'm talking about romantic movies. And this one has such a strong romantic edge, along with, as you said, this idea of, her got to live every moment because she clearly has cancer or some sort of disease that he's got to reckon with. The fact that they meet because she runs him over in that car is hilarious. And so what are they telling their daughter? Like, is this whole movie being told from that one diner, and they're going into flashbacks, and is it a bunch of vignettes and they keep coming back to this diner because she's gotten it's come back basically. So that could be something. So I miss these kinds of movies. I liken it to About Time, which is well over 10 years old, which is crazy to think about. I really like that movie. And so when I see stuff like this, I go, good, let's do more of this. I like this. We need to bring romance back to the movie theater, and realistic romance, not that romantic comedy nonsense we used to get. I mean, like realistic romance that's fun to enjoy and moves people like you crying, or inspires people or affects people. Like, we need to do that with movies. The magic of romance needs to come back to movies, and we don't get enough of those, man. And this looks awesome.
And look at, I mean, here, I think that, We Live in Time could very well be like an Oscar nominee.
Yeah.
And the movie it's going to have to really compete with is Here, because that's another movie about the passage of time and, family, the bonds of family and all that kind of stuff. So, again, I think the first half of this year was pretty weak.
Yeah.
Overall for movies. And the second half is looking strong.
Yeah. Yeah. We did you did your top 10 on your newsletter. We did it here as well. We had conversations about it. So yeah, I think you make a great point. All right, one last one, the Time Bandits trailer. I'm a fan of the original. I have the Criterion in 4K. I love the original Time Bandits there from Terry Gilliam. But this one, fascinating. We got Jermaine Clement, we got Taika Waititi, Lisa Kudrow leading this crew, young kid. Not a lot of little people in the trailer. Maybe they're trying to hide that, because that was a big part of the original Time Bandits. What are your thoughts on this trailer, Jeff?
Pass. I mean, this is not for me. I never saw the original Time Bandits, but I mean, this seems like a very expensive series for a show starring Lisa Kudrow. Yeah, just fantasy is not really fantasy sci-fi, not my cup of tea.
I think I have to be honest, and that is that I'm not the biggest Lisa Kudrow person. Now, that doesn't mean I want her to not work, or not at all. Go get your bag, go work. People like you. It's a subjective thing. I wasn't a big fan of the comeback, or what. People love that show. Didn't work for me. I liked her on Friends, but I enjoyed other characters more. So I am just not a Kudrow person. And so when I saw that she was the lead and I was watching the trailer, I just was like, meh. It's not that she's not funny. It's not that she doesn't hit the beats. I just don't feel that excited to see anything that stars her. So to me, the trailer didn't work. That being said, the overall look of it and the scope of it's pretty cool and fun. But I would have liked to have seen something a bit more with the Jermaine Clement character. Plus, the tone of it feels less irreverent and more like, let's make you laugh. Whereas the original was much more biting. And I thought this one doesn't have that edge when I was watching the trailer. So it kind of turned me off. I'm not excited to see it myself.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is one of those shows where it's like Apple. I think that an executive who's maybe a little bit older than me, right? 45, 50, like this movie may have meant something to them.
Yeah.
This means nothing to people my age or my generation.
Right.
Yeah, nothing. So
it'll mean even less if you don't honor the spirit of the original. And that's the problem. If you're trying to appeal to the people who remember it, you don't have honor the spirit, you're going to lose them as well. So I don't see this one being that successful. Do you think the bloom is off the Taika Waititi rose, man? Do you think? I mean, that last Thor film, Next Goal Wins, didn't do well. This one doesn't seem that exciting. Do you think the bloom?
It does seem like it is a bit.
Yeah.
And I've heard certain things as well. But Clara and the Sun will be a big test of that. Right?
Okay.
Like that's, hey, you get fucking 7-time nominee or whatever, Amy Adams. You've got Jenna Ortega, one of the hottest young Hollywood stars. And if you can't make a good movie out of that with those elements, that would be damning. So let's see how this next one goes. Because, okay, Next Goal Wins may not have been a big box office hit, but I thought it was okay.
It was fun. Yeah. But nobody went to see it. So, all right. Well, speaking of things nobody went to see, let's move on to Kevin Costner news here, brother. Horizon 2, the sequel to Horizon American Saga, will not be hitting theaters on August 16th anymore. At this time, numerous sites are reporting that the film remains a theatrical release, but it's unclear when it will now come out. It was supposed to, as we said, have come out on August 16th. They're claiming, this is what the people at New Line claim, is that New Line Cinema and Territory Pictures have decided not to release the sequel in order to give audiences a greater opportunity to discover the installment of Horizon over the coming weeks on VOD and on Max. but the sources tell Variety that Horizon has performed steadily with older moviegoers in Middle America, and that the decision to change the release date was mutual. Costner put up $38 million by his own admission towards the film, and it only made $11 million in its opening weekend, and it is not doing well. I have not seen it yet because of all the negative reviews. I will see it at some point. But Jeff, your thoughts on this? This is going straight to streaming. We're never seeing parts 3 and 4, are we? What's the deal?
I don't think that New Line or Warner Brothers bought parts 3 or 4.
Well, 3 is apparently supposed to start shooting in the next couple of weeks.
Right. And if you're Costner, I do wonder if it's like, okay, maybe we redo the script for 3 and like try to wrap it up in one movie and just like wrap it up with 3.
Yeah, reduce
to see out your vision. I have no idea if he's actually pressing forward with a 4th.
Good God, I hope not.
I wouldn't be surprised if it stays theatrical though, like it is being reported.
You wouldn't be surprised if they release in the theaters.
Yes, because that just may be what the contracts call for.
Oh, right, fair point.
Again, it's not like this is even Warner Brothers movie; they just have a distribution deal.
Right.
So it may be tough to back out.
Yeah,
but they may be able to shift the release to whenever they want within a certain time period.
Yeah.
So here's what I would guess.
Okay.
Again, when do people go to the movies? If it's not coming out this summer, when do people go to the movies?
In the summer or the fall, I guess. Yeah.
When specifically?
Like November, December.
Christmas, right?
Christmas,
People go to the movies at Christmas time.
Oh, yeah.
I think if they don't put this movie out at Christmas,
yeah,
then it'll definitely come out in January. All right, it'll be January dump month fodder. Okay, but I could also see it getting a Christmas release.
I think that's a smart move because, like they said, it appealed to older moviegoers in Middle America. Well, people like that love to go to the movies with their families on Christmas Day.
Right.
There's not a lot of choices as the movies get more and more, kind of going in a certain direction. So this is one you go see with your dad or your grandfather or whatever, who's kind of into Costner.
Or whoever you watch the first one with, right?
Sure.
On Max or whatever.
Yeah.
The other thing that you could do, and I don't know, I guess he's not in it, so it doesn't matter.
What's that?
When does Yellowstone come back?
No, he's in the back half of the season, right? Because he hasn't been killed off yet.
I thought he wasn't coming back. I thought that's what he came out and said. I'm not coming back. Like he just shot that whole video saying I'm not back.
Oh, maybe you're right.
So I feel like that comes back in January, and it would be interesting if that was the whole fucking angle that Costner played, where it was like, hey, Yellowstone's coming back this week, and guess what? I ain't fucking in it. You want to see me? You got to come see me on the big screen, and I'll show you shit that they can't show you on Yellowstone. Maybe that's the play. You draft on the publicity from that show coming back and not having him.
So the season 5 part 2 is released on Sunday, November 10th on Paramount Network.
It's November. It's not January.
November, not January. So. Okay. And Costner, you're right, did release a video saying he's not coming back for 5B or in the future. Well, I think honestly, I tweeted this out. If you're Kevin Costner, I think you're on the phone with Taylor Sheridan going, how do we work this out? Clearly, I thought I was a big draw still, and I am not. So how do we work this out? So I come back to Yellowstone. We finish this out.
That's done. He's not back. I mean, that show's done.
Don't think so?
No, it wrapped. It's done.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
They've been talking about spinoffs with Kelly Riley and what's his face, Cole Hauser, and Matthew McConaughey was going to replace Costner. The rumor was so.
Yeah, it's Kurt Russell now.
Yeah, Kurt Russell now. I don't know if I'm Costner, man. I'm calling Taylor and going, okay, how do I get this back? I got to get $38 million back in my pocket. How do I make up some of this money, man? Come on. So yeah, that's what I would do. That's my opinion on this. I mean, 3. I think you're right. If they do a 3, it'll be to kind of wrap up storylines. But I mean, they don't have to do. Nobody has to do a 3.
No, nobody's twisting his arm. I mean, he's just like a crazy guy with a dream.
Yeah.
More power to him. God bless him. But like, there's a reason that's sort of the golden rule in Hollywood is rule number 1: don't use your own money.
Exactly.
This is what happens.
As a producer, don't use your own money. All right, let's move on to some of these other storylines. Keep sending in your Streamlabs and Super Chats, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get to them after the break for sure. Let's hit to this next news here, man. Jennifer Lawrence is, speaking of A24, just a couple of stories ago, Jennifer Lawrence is teaming up with A24 again for a movie adaptation of Why Don't You Love Me? This is a 2023 graphic novel by Paul B. Rainey. Robert Funk, who wrote On Becoming a God in Central Florida, is writing the screenplay. There is no director just yet, but the graphic novel follows a miserable couple, Claire and Mark, struggling through their marriage while, quote, feeling like something is not quite right in their reality. It's pitched as a pitch black comedy about marriage, alcoholism, depression, and mourning lost opportunities with surprising twists along the way. This is an interesting choice by Jennifer Lawrence. So what are your thoughts on this one, Jeff? Do you like this as a choice? I mean, she did Causeway. She did No Hard Feelings. Is her still kind of bubbling under the radar for now?
Do you know that song? I think it's David Duchovny, Why Don't You Love Me? David Duchovny, Why Don't You Love Me? Okay. I need to read the graphic novel. I'm curious about this. Okay. I don't know what that log line means. Like, what is off about their reality?
Yeah. Right.
So I'm like I said last night, like I'm more interested in the wives, that Real Housewives-esque like whodunit that she's doing for A24. But again, anytime I see comedy and like Ari Aster in the same sentence, I'm nervous. I think he thinks Beau is Afraid is a comedy. But I'm intrigued. It is a different kind of choice for her, and it does make me want to read this graphic novel and find out what the hell is so off.
Yeah, you know what? Jennifer's an actress, and yeah, she flew to the highest of heights. But she's and people got I think a little bit sick of her, and then the scandal with her as well, which was not her doing, but other people did what they did. She is now kind of slowly been working her way back. I mean, Causeway I thought was a really good movie, and I thought No Hard Feelings had some funny moments, even if I didn't think the whole thing held together as strongly as it should have. But I will never have an issue with Jennifer working. Like, she's just a damn good actress. So I'm curious to see what this would be and what kind of and I like that she's pursuing like these films that have a little more of life to them in terms of like dealing with the realities of life to them, which is how she made her bones, so to speak, with Winter's Bone and other things at the beginning. So she's going back to where she kind of made her name. So I like this idea, and especially having a relationship with A24, establishing a really strong relationship with A24, because those are the kinds of films they hunt out and make. So it's all
about who she gets paired with, right? Is there anyone that you'd like to see team up with Jennifer Lawrence and play her husband and kind of be struggling?
Jesus. I don't know. Nothing comes to mind initially. What comes to mind for you? Anybody?
Josh O'Connor from Challengers.
Oh, but he's too young. You want to go the reverse route?
What about Paul Mescal?
Mescal is interesting. So okay, so he's 34, Josh. So I might be wrong on this, being too young.
Yeah.
Paul is what? 28. So he's way younger. Jennifer, I think, is in her early 40s, right? Or late 30s.
That's early 40s. What?
What? She's 33. Then perfect. Yeah. Yes. Go get Josh O'Connor. I'm down. I love it.
Yeah. I was like, what?
Sorry. She's been around for so long. I just feel like
I know. It does feel like that.
I bet. Keep Chris Pratt away from her, though. Don't put Chris Pratt in anything that she's doing. What about a Bradley Cooper reteam? Wouldn't that be fun? Like the Silver Linings Playbook vibe, bringing it back for something?
He's too old. What about Pattinson?
Oh, I like that pairing. That's a good pairing.
Driver already did this with Marriage Story, guys.
Oof. Yeah, no thanks. Yeah. No, I like the idea of Pattinson. That's a good choice, dude. That makes sense. Especially for where, he wants to be seen as and where he wants to go. Going toe-to-toe with Jennifer Lawrence, I think, is a great thing for him. All right, so we'll see what happens with that. Let's move on to the Sam Raimi news, brother. Sam Raimi has closed the deal to direct and produce Send Help, a new horror thriller for 20th Century Studios. It's not greenlighted yet by the studio, according to the sources that I'm getting this from, but the film is described as a two-hander horror thriller set on an island somewhere between in a mixture of Rob Reiner's Misery and Robert Zemeckis' classic Castaway. So your thoughts on this one here, Jeff? Do you like this as the next thing for Sam Raimi, and does this mean he's probably not coming back to Marvel?
Okay. I kind of did interpret it like that. I didn't really think that he was coming back to Marvel anyways. I thought that this was from Beck and Woods, but the original report had it backwards, so it's not from them. I think it's from Shannon and Swift, who wrote a Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay.
Love the log line here. I mean, Misery meets Castaway.
Yeah.
Guys, that's how you do a fucking log line.
Who are you stuck on an island with? And if they're a fan of yours, what the hell? So
I don't know what the situation or scenario calls for. I just know that description has me intrigued.
Yeah.
And that's the point of a log line.
Yeah. Right. I want to hear more. Right. Exactly. Okay. So we'll see what happens with that one. The writer, wait, what would you say the writers? The writers are
Shannon and Swift.
Shannon,
I think it's Damian Shannon and Mark Swift.
Okay. And they're the guys who did Baywatch, though. And that was the first misstep, I think, in The Rock's run that he was having at the time. So maybe
the first misstep The Rock ever did in his career.
Not ever.
Everything else was perfect.
He was on a run at the time. I'm just saying he was on a run.
He was on a run.
But they also did Freddy vs. Jason, which I liked, and the Friday the 13th.
Dwayne Johnson was going to be John Cazale. He had done 4 in a row. He was about to get to 5. And he did Baywatch.
You know what? You know what? One last thing before we get to a couple of tributes here. Fistful of Dollars remake. This pissed me off on so many levels. But then I saw the people involved and I was like, oh, wait, now I might be interested to see a remake of Fistful of Dollars, the Sergio Leone classic that starred Clint Eastwood, of course, based on Yojimbo from Akira Kurosawa. So
I remember that movie, right? That's the movie where the guy goes, yo, Jimbo.
Dad jokes. Now you're 40. Dad jokes are when you're 40, man. So go ahead. What are your thoughts on this idea of a remake and all the people involved?
I want to hear you vent, John. I don't really have any major feelings either way. Gianni Nunari, yeah, he had a hit with 300 and everything, but he kind of makes schlock. So I don't have the highest hopes. They haven't even decided whether this is going to be an English language movie or an Italian language movie, because it's like Italian backers, really.
Right.
So which I think says a lot, but it also makes sense that they would revisit this because it does have a certain cachet. This is a cult classic. It gave, launched Eastwood's career, The Man with No Name. Like, that's a cool thing for an actor to want to play, right?
Yeah,
so
I agree. But the person involved that gets me interested is Enzo Sisti, who just did Ripley. Netflix. So if that's the kind of tone they're going for, a more serious approach to this story, then I'm interested. Because that terrible Bruce Willis remake was just never ever want to watch that again. But there is a possibility to do remake. The question is, who is out there that could play the Clint Eastwood character? Who is out there that has that kind of energy to play with The Man with No Name? So setting this up is certainly a struggle and it'll take some effort to get it going. But finding the actor is really the most important thing. Who is going to play this role? And as we just saw in Horizon, our Western's really a draw. So
the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, Johnny. Welcome, Scott Eastwood.
I would be very surprised if that's right.
Last night I wrote, if they could get Alan Ritchson, I think that would be interesting, but I don't know if they can find a horse that could carry Alan Ritchson.
Well, he's not normally that big.
He's a big boy.
Sure, man.
That horse just breaks all 4 legs and just crashes to the ground.
It'll have to be a Clydesdale for sure, man. But we'll see. I mean, as you said, it's very early days, but a lot of interesting people involved in this one, and we'll see where it goes.
It'll be Batista.
Just honor the story that you want to tell.
It'll be Jason Statham with a wig.
Put the gun down. All right, let's move on to the last story.
Name.
You broke this one, man. What's this thing you're talking about with Emma Stone in a movie that is reminiscent of what happened to the Chicago Cubs fan Bartman? What is this all about?
I didn't break this. This was something that Daniel Rickman blasted out.
Sorry, bud.
So a couple of months ago, I think it was in April.
Yeah,
the trades reported that Emma was in talks to do a movie at Universal from her husband, Dave McCary.
Right.
And they mentioned the writers as well, and I'm forgetting who they were.
Okay.
But so the log line, everything was under wraps at the time, but Daniel put this out this week.
Okay.
And he said that it's about a female baseball fan who basically takes a ball off the wall and her team loses, like, you know, turning that ball into a home run. Their team loses, and she's like the scorn of the city. So, I mean, that's the Steve Bartman story.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, like, and it's kind of an interesting way into it by gender flipping it.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's hardly any films about female sports fans. And I think Jeff and I can tell you, female sports fans can be the most insane sports fans in any live sports arena situation. Like, they say the most hellacious shit to people that would even make you blush, for God's sake. So to have her be someone who tried to catch the ball or caught the ball and then affected her team, what would that lead to? I think that could be a fascinating thing to explore.
Sure. I mean, she could be like an outcast within her own city. I mean,
yeah.
You know, I could see her dating, and then someone finds out, oh, you're the girl who cost the city, you know, like, and it's like, I got to break up with you, you know, or, I mean, that's an interesting love story. Could a guy who meets her and even though the entire city hates her, like, he sees the good things in her or whatever.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of ways that you could go with it. I don't know which way Dave McCary is going, but if that is the angle, it's not bad, and it's different than the shit that Emma's been doing lately.
I agree. It's a fun thing, and I think Emma would be up for it. I think she'd be great for it. All right, as we wrap up here before we take a break and jump into your Streamlabs and Super Chats, we lost two Hollywood veterans recently, Jeff. John Landau passed on Monday from cancer at 63 years old. He had produced, of course, Titanic, Avatar, the Avatar sequel. He'd also co-produced, when he was first starting out here, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. He was the executive vice president of feature productions at Fox. He helped shepherd hits like Home Alone, Mrs. Doubtfire, Speed. He had been involved with Steven Soderbergh's Solaris and Alita Battle Angel as well, one of the most recent ones a lot of people seem to like. But passed away at 63 years old from cancer. So many people put out statements of support and love for him. So your thoughts on the passing of John Landau?
Obviously hugely tragic. Didn't know that he was battling cancer. I think that he probably kept that pretty quiet. It seemed like a death that kind of caught a lot of people by surprise. He was obviously very young. He was, I think, just 63, right? Yeah. I mean, my mother was 61. Like, that's crazy young. But he also, I had very limited interactions with him, although you know, he did, you know, call back a couple times when I was at the trades and everything, because he was, you know, Cameron's point person, right? I mean, he ran the show really and dealt with the press and all that kind of stuff. So he struck me as a guy who really did love what he did,
movies,
and loved facilitating James Cameron's dreams and his helping bring his vision to the big screen, and also using technology, like pushing the boundaries of technology, really embracing technology and the way that technology can influence the human imagination.
Yeah, I mean, reading up on him and reading people's responses and tributes to him, you know, one of the stories that stood out to me is how we would not have had Titanic if John Landau hadn't been the producer, because when they were 2 months behind in building the 9/10 size of Titanic set, he rejiggered the shooting schedule so they could stay somewhat on schedule and be able to accomplish the film. Even though they were over budget on the film, they were able to even finish it, was because of his moves and his work there behind the scenes, troubleshooting the situation. A lot of people spoke about how he's the kind of person who either always championed the movie, even if it meant he was battling the studio or battling the director. So he was very clear that the movie was the most important thing and was willing to go toe-to-toe with anybody involved in the making of the movie to make sure the movie came out as best as possible. So I think that's a great legacy to leave in a town full of people who are self-serving all the time, you know.
For sure.
Yeah. One last one, Robert Towne. Sadly, Robert Towne, Jeff, the screenwriter of Chinatown, Oscar-winning screenwriter of Chinatown, also The Last Detail, Shampoo. He was an uncredited script doctor for Bonnie and Clyde and The Godfather. For you young people, those are called fucking classics. He passed away recently as well, 89 years old, at his home in Los Angeles. He did direct some films as well, probably Tequila Sunrise being the best of the ones.
I want to watch that one.
It's a good one. I remember seeing that in the theaters. I did not like The Two Jakes. That was fucking terrible. But yeah, passed away. He kind of diminished in presence and prestige as the years went on, but he was still credited as being a consultant on Mad Men on the first season of Mad Men, and a number of other things towards the latter years of his life. So your thoughts on Robert Towne's passing, brother? One of the great, iconic screenwriters of the 70s.
For sure, a lion, a giant within the industry. And one thing that you didn't mention within all the incredible career that he's had is that he was Tom Cruise's go-to script doctor. He worked on like Mission Impossible and a couple of other Tom Cruise movies around that time. Yes. So that was one way that he, continued to pay the bills and maintain his relevance later in his career. Yeah. But yeah, obviously, I think he just got disillusioned with the industry a little bit. I think that the industry maybe stopped making the kinds of movies that Robert Towne typically liked to make. Yeah. And he was like a screenwriter's screenwriter, right? Like. Mm-hmm. Most screenwriters looked up to Robert Towne and hold Chinatown in extremely high regard, and he's a legend, no doubt.
Yeah, for sure. Also, I remember him being the screenwriter for Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan. I know he took his name off that movie. I loved that movie, and the nostalgia I have for that movie still lives within me, with Glenn Close voicing over Andy McDowell's role, and Christopher Lambert's last gasp at being a lead in a feature film that was studio produced. So yeah, I mean, and Chinatown is Lady Outlaw's favorite movie, bar none. That's where I fell in love with her, was at a rooftop screening of Chinatown, is when I finally realized I was in love with her, when I looked over and saw the joy on her face as she was watching the movie. So Chinatown will always have a special place in my heart, and so Robert Towne will as well. So RIP for one of the great talents in Hollywood who is gone from us now. All right, let's take a quick break, Jeff, and on the other side, we'll get into some Streamlabs and Super Chats right after this. One last thing to mention on Robert Towne, and this is kind of behind the scenes. It was a hell of a boatman, that's for sure. Like my man slept with the two actresses in his film Personal Best at the same time. That takes a little bit of.
What'd you call him? A boatman?
He's a boatman. You need to look up what that is. A boatman. A lot of moxie, that kid.
I thought you were talking about a stick man.
They both work. All right, let's hit these Streamlabs and Super Chats. Phil P says, is it coming home? Huge love from London. Woo! Yeah, good win today for England. We will see on Sunday if they beat Spain in the Euros. We will see. Dallas said, hi, Jeff. I've noticed your friend Jamie has been posting a lot of cryptic tweets regarding Pattinson's Batman being integrated into Gunn's universe. Is he speculating, or have you guys heard anything? Yeah, I mean, we just had that Arkham Asylum series canceled by Max. Does this mean maybe they're slowly starting to get rid of everything that is Elseworlds and trying to put everything in one lane canon? Jeff, are you sensing that, or is Jamie just having fun?
I think Jamie's having some fun. I think that we both have felt, we've had that theory for a while now. Like, just doesn't make sense why you'd cast another Batman and like confuse the audience. Like, is this the Batman from the Batman, or this is a separate? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. So I think that is what Jamie's getting at. Yeah. I don't think that we've heard anything concrete, and I think that if we'd had Jamie knows better than to tweet that stuff from his account. But it's a theory that we share.
It's gaining steam, that theory, even though there are people pushing back going, James said he was going to release it. What are you talking about?
No one's ever changed their mind in the history of anything
ever.
I mean, if they say something, then that means it's done.
That's what they do, right? Exactly. Dennis Hoffman says, big fans, fellas. Thank you, Dennis. At Jeff, tell us more about Will Smith and Chris Hemsworth teaming on G.I. Joe Transformers. LOL. In all seriousness, I dig the idea. Any directors in play for that? Yeah, Jeff, will Paramount invest in a Transformers G.I. Joe crossover universe? Because that was what was hinted at the end of the last Transformers movie. Who do you see being a part of this thing?
Well, they said, isn't Chris Hemsworth?
Well, he's voicing over Optimus Prime for the animated Transformers film coming out, but he's not doing the live action. So
no, I thought Chris Hemsworth was.
Oh, really? Is that what you've been hearing?
No, I thought that's an article that like Chris Hemsworth is going to be in this movie. No,
he is in the movie as the voiceover guy for
that's Transformers 1. This is a different thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like
I've not heard that at all.
I think that's out there. So what he's getting at is the Will Smith thing, which is what an idea that we put out in the newsletter, where when I said that Paramount should invest in talent,
I see.
who's investing in Will Smith right now?
Right?
Like he's an undervalued talent.
Yeah. I mean, Bad Boys just came out and made all that money. So
yes, I mean, to me, if I was Paramount, I'd want to get into the Will Smith business right now.
Yeah.
Before everybody else does. So I speculated because Jamie and I were talking, and it's like, oh, would Denzel be good for like the leader of the Joes? I think Will Smith would be good for the leader of the Joes.
My man, Duke, my man. I don't know if I can see that necessarily.
I couldn't either. I mean, yeah.
My Gladiator.
Just because he did Gladiator II and now he's doing sequels like for Equalizer, I don't know that Denzel would stoop to a G.I. Joe Transformers crossover movie. That's why I drew the line. But Will Smith might.
Yeah. Well, you're right. I looked it up. It's a May 30th article here in Variety that Chris Hemsworth is in talks to star in this crossover. I guess I was confused because he's being the voice of Optimus Prime in the one on September 20th. It'd be weird to make him that, but all right, I guess. He's a big name. Why not?
There you go.
Ewok says, who among the current crop of British actors would you cast as the adults in the Harry Potter series?
Have at it, my friend.
I don't know if I could. I would need more time with this one, Ewok. I would have to take a look. I mean, Domhnall Gleeson, although played one of the Wisely brothers, I mean, you'd want to go and take a look at that guy and maybe his brother too, to come in and be the guys who did Frank of Ireland. If you haven't seen that series on Prime Video, I can't recommend it enough. You could look at them possibly coming in to do different roles here in the Harry Potter series. God, I don't know. I'd have to really spend some time and look at some of these British actors to see which ones, because they used a lot. There's not a lot left over of the maybe people on Bridgerton. Maybe, I mean, what's Renee Jean Page doing now that things have fallen apart for him since he left Bridgerton? Nicola Coughlan could be really interesting. Can move her over into that. So that there's definitely many British actors to choose from for sure. Ewok says, any more news on the live action Zelda movie? Jeff, have you heard anything?
No.
Okay. All right. Maisie's World. Thank you, Maisie.
Thank
big
you,
love
Maisie.
to Dat Boy 22. Thank you very much for that as well.
Thank you, Dat Boy.
Luke Skywanker says, what are your thoughts on the Regal Theater story? Yeah, Jeff, you heard this? Regal Cinema is getting an influx of cash, and I think it's $250 million. And they're saying, wait till you see what we do with this money. We're going to upgrade the theaters. Jeff, do you believe them? Because some of the Regal theaters I go to, some of the cinemas and Regal theaters I go to by my house, pretty terrible that are not the IMAX theaters. So do you think they're going to spend the money on redoing these movie theaters? Will it help?
I assume that whoever's giving them the money wants to see it spent in a certain way as far as upgrades and things like that. Yeah. Again, for me, it's still audience behavior, right? That's still the deterrent for me. Like, if you had an usher stay in the theater the whole time and like talk to people who are on their phones or yelling, or because I went to the movies a few weeks ago, John. Yeah. I sat in 4 seats. I'm serious. I sat down, and the seat that I was assigned, the people next to me just started having.
Oh, you mean you moved to 4 different locations in the theater?
Yes.
I respect that. I do the same thing. I respect that great.
Because if I don't, John, and I open my mouth, you know that could be a problem.
It could be
for me.
I've seen
it. I have to just get up and walk away quietly.
I'm with you. I do this. I've done that at screenings, bro. I've looked at a guy next to me in San Diego who has the light on his phone on and is writing notes during a fucking screening. And I've gotten up and walked to another.
Got to be able to write in the dark.
Yeah, I've gone home twice. Yeah, go ahead.
I checked my phone a couple times during Fly Me to the Moon. Roxy looked at me like she was going to kill me. Roxy just looked at me. She's like, "What are you doing right now? What could be more important than watching fucking Scarlett Johansson and Channing Tatum fake a moon landing?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, to me, I'll see that one eventually. But I'm very picky about this stuff. So what I do now when I go to my Regal, I wait till the last minute because I'm on that plan that they have. I wait till the last minute to get a ticket to make sure the theater is not full, like barely full. Those are the only screenings I go to now when I go see movies. So yeah, if they do that and re-up these theaters and put like the recliners, I'll be even happier about that. Jay Barrett Mash says,
Johnny likes to lie down, guys. Johnny likes to pull that lever and push that button and lie down.
I do, and I enjoy the movie because people aren't talking around me and people aren't opening bags of candy at inopportune moments and being super fucking loud, which I hate.
I need to sit on a bed of nails now to make it through a movie. I will just pass out.
Oh, really? Wow. Jay Bearmash says, I like Shawn Levy and Tropper for Star Wars, even though he did the Reynolds project. He also did Real Steel, which is sincere and less irreverent. It could work. Yeah, but Real Steel isn't really that strong of a movie. It's a good movie. It's not a great movie. So, but, you know.
Maybe Levy will take a page from Stranger Things. Like, what if he injects a little Stranger Things into this Star Wars? You know, I know he's not the Duffers, but like, if there's a third person on that show, it's him.
Well, Filoni does like the magic area of Star Wars, so it could work. I am Too Fly Cam says, LOL, which thumbnail, Jeff? The trailer looked good, not great. I'll be there opening day because of Denzel and Ridley. Honestly, more excited for Alien Romulus. Fair point.
I'm confused. Which thumbnail?
He's just because you made fun of the thumbnail, and I make faces on all of them, so he's saying which.
Oh,
yeah. Fuck you, bastards! Run your own fucking YouTube channel. Fucking talk to me. You know what? I pay my bills and my car payment and my rent.
And he paid me, guys. Johnny paid me this week. I'm swimming in dough now.
You can sit on my dick and spin. All right, let's move past this one. The Ray of Water says, "Who will get Avengers since Levy and Raimi are busy?" Yeah, I mean, we talked about a couple weeks ago. The Russo brothers pretty much passed over for this. You sense that Levy's not going to do it. That's what you said on the show. So, do you hear anything? Do you sense anything? Who do you think?
I haven't heard anything. I just heard, that they were getting desperate for a director, and I'm sure again that they would love to make an announcement in the next couple of weeks at Comic-Con. So we'll see. Do I think it's going to be Levy? I don't know. Okay. I don't think so. Especially I don't think you. Right, with this Star Wars news, and again, Stranger Things still looming, and it's just like, if I was him, you just don't need the distraction or the pressure.
Yeah.
Do the next Avengers if you want, if they don't get someone to do them both,
Right. Leah Dama says, I think Costner's Horizon failed because of what he did with Yellowstone. It made me not want to see it. He should have at least finished season 5B. That's a very good point. It may have been that he pissed off some Yellowstone fans, and they are very loyal to Taylor Sheridan and didn't want to go see the movie. And when the reviews came out, weren't that great? They were even less inspired to go see the movie. So you think that's possible, Jeff?
No, I think you're getting too in the weeds there. I understand that line of thinking where it's like, hey, I just invested 4 seasons right into watching your show, and now you're like too busy to film the finale, right? Yeah. You're filming this fucking movie in place of the finale, and you couldn't be around for it. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Right. I could see that, but I just don't think consumers really think like that. They either want to see something or they don't. And, there's really nothing that really grabbed you about the Horizon trailers.
Okay, fair point. Amazing World says, any interest in the new Faye Dunaway HBO doc out on Max this weekend? Saw it at Con, not a puff piece. Any fave roles? I love Network and Barfly. Well, you just took my 2, so I can't answer this question. But yes, I'm looking forward to the doc. I have it saved here for this weekend. Go ahead, Jeff.
I mean, she's certainly like an interesting figure in cinema history, like a colorful figure, for sure.
Say the least.
But no, I don't think I'll watch this. I'm pretty behind on my celebrity documentaries to begin with. I still haven't watched like the Steve Martin one or the Gene Wilder one.
Oh, right.
I think I'd probably watch those before this Faye Dunaway one. But as far as favorite roles, I'm going to give you a movie right now, guys. That's so good. I love it.
Go ahead.
Great a cast, and she's in it, and you got to track it down. Albino Alligator. Do you know what that is?
Isn't that the Steve Buscemi one?
No, you think it's Steve Buscemi. Kevin Spacey directed it.
Oh,
it's Kevin Spacey's directorial debut. He's not in the movie.
Right.
And it's about 3 criminals, Matt Dillon, Gary Sinise, and William Fichtner, who basically hide out in like a bar and take everybody in the bar hostage while the cops, represented by Joe Mantegna, are outside the bar.
Interesting.
Really good mid-90s indie thriller. Vigo's in it, like a young Vigo, a young Skeet Ulrich, Emmett Walsh. Like, this is a fucking good movie. Don't care who directed it.
We'd be remiss not to mention 3 Days of the Condor, also the classic Mommy Dearest, which a lot women and gays loved and had as their like guilty pleasure here as well. Yeah, so Albino Attica. There you go, 1996. That's when that one came out. So go and find that one. I thought she was great in Thomas Crown Affair, not reprising, but being a part of it because she did the original with Steve McQueen. So yeah, a great talent. And you're right, like you said, an interesting character in the 70s. Sewer Dave says, what was the first R movie you snuck into? Mine was Jackass #2. Was the only person of my friends to not get caught. Love y'all.
I didn't have to sneak into R-rated movies because my parents bought the ticket for me and said, go have fun. But the first R-rated movie that I saw alone in theaters was the classic Copycat.
Oh, nice. Sigourney Weaver, Harry Connick Jr., right? And
stick him, shoot him, or stick him.
And Holly Hunter, I think. Luke Skywalker says, do you know anything about Night Bitch? I don't know anything about that, Jeff. I know it's a title, but I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, I know a lot about Night Bitch. M. Night Shyamalan, bro.
Yeah.
No, I know Amy. It's about Amy Adams. She plays like a housewife of sorts who believes that she's turning into a dog. I don't know. It's Marielle Heller, who I think is a good director.
Oh yeah.
But I could also see it being a tough sell, a bit of a tricky sell, and like they're not budging on the title, right? So we'll see. I feel like Searchlight, the vibe that I get from Searchlight is like they're apprehensive about this whole thing. They don't fully believe in it, but they're also not going to dump it on Hulu.
Yeah. All right. Lemmy Ward says, hi guys. Sony is clearly looking to grow. Do you think Sony will look to buy A24 or Lionsgate? Love the show. Thank you, Lemmy, for the very kind donation. Jeff, A24 or Lionsgate, do you think that's in Sony's plans?
No, I don't really see them as a match. I don't know that I see Sony as looking to grow. I don't know where that's coming from, Lemmy, where you are getting that impression. Sony Lionsgate makes more sense for me than Sony A24.
I could see that. Yeah, because can I be honest? I mean, some of those Sony films are as schlocky as anything Lionsgate does, and I don't think A24 would necessarily sully themselves with Sony Pictures on the live action front. So it's just my opinion. Ewok says, Jeff, any further news on the 4 Beatles films? I haven't heard anything, Jeff.
No, you know what? I thought about that today. That project slipped into my mind today, and I was like, what is going on with those? How come there hasn't been an announcement yet officially? But what I was thinking of, right? Because this was all about Gladiator II. Have you seen Paul Mescal sign on anything?
No,
I haven't either. I think that's why. I mean, I think if there's a reason, I think I don't know which. Again, I think it's Paul McCartney, but whatever happens, I think that the reason he hasn't signed on to anything, even with Gladiator coming out, is he knows what's up.
Okay. Sam Mo says, thoughts on Maxine and Beverly Hills Cop 4 by both of you. Well, I didn't see Maxine, but I know that it underperformed at the box office. Didn't get the best reviews, but I liked Beverly Hills Cop 4. I enjoyed that. That was a fun ride. It's not a great film, but I certainly enjoyed it. Jeff, your thoughts on these two?
Ditto on Beverly Hills Cop 4. You click that button on Netflix, like having certain expectations, wanting it to deliver certain things. And I think that it did deliver those things. I don't know if it's the second best movie behind the first one or where it falls in the rankings. It's been a while since I saw Beverly Hills Cop 2, and I always liked Beverly Hills Cop 3, which gets a lot of shit, but that's the movie that's probably the first Beverly Hills Cop movie I saw, because I saw it when it was on HBO when I was 9 years old, right? 9 or 10 years old. So that was probably my intro to Axel Foley, and it was set in an amusement park. Why wouldn't I watch that movie?
So
yeah, it's either it was okay. It got the job done.
It got the job done. Much better than Coming to America, that's for sure. So
for sure.
Maxine, give it to me.
Maxine, disappointing. Again, first, it has a good style. It's a leap forward for Ty West as a director. But just like the movies that I plan to review in the newsletter next, like Long Legs and Cuckoo, no one knows how to write anymore.
Ooh.
I mean, literally, these guys, they're all good shooters. Like Ty West This is not just X, where it's like, we're shooting a porno in a cabin in the woods, right? One sort of location for the most part. This is like a real movie, and it suggests that he's ready to make the studio leap. But the third act of this movie completely falls apart. It's pretty goofy, and it was a disappointment.
Okay. Mitch Jensen says Minneapolis submitted a bid for Sundance. If they get it, y'all are free to stay at my place for free. I'm literally 15 minutes from downtown. Y'all have a great week.
I will take you up on that, Mitch.
Jeff will.
I don't think it's going to come to Minneapolis. I think if it does move out of Park City, it'll wind up in Colorado, like at the foot of the Rockies in Boulder. But Minneapolis could be interesting.
No offense, Mitch. I like hotels. So I'll stay.
I was say Hollywood's not coming up to Minneapolis, bro. I don't know what you're thinking. You're not getting movie stars up to Minneapolis.
This ain't the Super Bowl, bro. Logan Vaughn says, I have a toddler, so I love going to the movies for a distraction for your environment. I also prefer late night screenings for smaller crowds. Yeah, Logan, you're speaking my language, brother. You're speaking my language. Sean Gardner says, I hear a lot about poor theater behavior, but my experience, it hasn't been too bad. Rarely do I have to move seats, and I live in Vegas where people are usually cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Well, you're what's balancing the universe, Sean. The universe must always be in balance. So for those of us who have negative experiences, you must exist to have positive experiences. Therefore, we are balanced in the universe. So our experiences are valid and your experiences are valid. Anything you want to add to this, Jeff?
It's just it blows my mind that people have no common sense. And I'm not saying I never take out my phone, right? Just check the time or text, right? Okay, you know what I do? The fucking brightness is all the way down. People have the brightness all the way up on their phones.
True.
Which is insanity. Again, just like I understand, you got to maybe talk to your partner. Hey, what just happened? What did I miss? Can I have some popcorn? You have to maybe say some words during a movie, but regulate your voice. You are not in your living room.
Oh, yeah.
Modulate it.
100%.
It's crazy.
100%. I sit all the way in the back so that I can be on my phone if I need to be. Because if the movie sucks, I'm definitely going to be on my fucking phone. All right, let's see. We'll hit some Streamlabs and then we'll get the hell out of here. Jacob Leckert said, sorry if it's a little off topic. I just watched Dog Day Afternoon for the first time, speaking of John Cazale earlier, and was wondering if there were plans for it to be covered on the Cinephiles. Would love to hear John and Steve's conversation on the film. Keep up the great work on the hot mic, though. Thank you, Jacob. Yeah, we'll probably tackle that at some point here down the road. We've pretty much got our schedule out for the next few months. So, but Dog Day may be something we do in 2025. So appreciate the suggestion, Jacob.
Johnny's a planner, guys. John, if you have a guess for that one, hit me up because I don't like a lot of old movies, but that is one of the few that I consider a masterpiece.
Listen, I've hesitated asking you to be on the show because it's a time commitment, bro. It's 6 hours. Remember, I've told you this. 6
hours talking about Dog Day Afternoon. The movie's 2 hours.
We're going scene by scene through every movie. So through the movie. So like if it's a 2-hour film, it's definitely going to be a 4-hour show. We'll break it up onto 2 separate days. But if you're willing to do it, I'm down to have you on the show. But I've hesitated because I know you're about your attention.
That's too big a time commitment. The only thing, 4 hours. That's like some tantric sex shit.
Not 4 hours in a row though. It's 2 hours on one day and 2 hours on another day. But we'll see. I'll propose it and then we'll see what happens. Joe says my top 5 of the year so far is Furiosa number 1, Hitman number 2, Snack Shack number 3, Challengers 4, Civil War number 5. Did you end up seeing Snack Shack, Jeff? Would you put that in your top 5? Did you put that in?
I did not put it in my top 5. Okay. I liked the performances in that film. I really like Gabe LaBelle, and I liked Adam Carter Raymeier's a good filmmaker. I liked Dinner in America a little bit more than this movie. Okay. It was just it takes a dark turn in the third act that I did not get on board with.
Okay, fair point. I think that's a good solid 5 for sure. Doug Developer says, hey guys, there was a 1-year gap between seasons 1 and 2 of The Boys. There was a 2-year gap each season after that. Gun to your head, will we get the final season in 2 years or closer to 1 year from now? The sooner the better. Well, I think with what's going on in the world, you got to knock out that next season as quickly as possible. That's what I say. With all the madness, political madness that is going on, which they very much have made a prominent part of this season, you have to, and especially depending on what happens in November, you have to do that season sooner rather than later.
Yeah, but you may have to wait until November or January to even then start writing it, right? And then So then you write it and make it in 2025, and you don't see it until 2026.
Good point, Jeff. You might be right there. Actually, really good point there. Alan R. says, I feel like Star Wars IP is in trouble at the moment. Acolyte has been mostly awful. And while I've liked everything except Book of Boba Fett, Rise of Skywalker, and Acolyte, they haven't had a big hit in a while. How would you reinvigorate the fan base? Oh, man. You can't. My opinion, you can't reinvigorate the fan base anymore. I don't think it's possible. You know, Last Jedi shattered the fan base, and then Mandalorian brought people together. But now too many people are invested in having the fan base be shattered so they can make money off of it, that reinvigorating it, I think would take an incredible amount of effort. Even episode 5, which I thought was a good episode of The Acolyte that a lot of people liked, you followed up episode 6 and episode 7, which were just massive disappointments in my opinion. And so you lose this momentary reuniting of the fan base. So Jeff, what do you thought? What would you do to reinvigorate the fan base?
I don't know, because I haven't been keeping track. I just I just don't care about any of this shit. Like, this is just content to me. Acolyte, Andor, like, where is the shit that's like, dude, you gotta watch this?
Maybe that's how you reinvigorate the fan base, is you pull back big time, and so everything becomes an event, right? 3 years from now, we're gonna.
Yes, I think that may be the idea, but yeah, like I know we skipped talking about it, but let's circle back. Yeah. Agatha all along, dude, that's a pass. Like, what the fuck? I didn't really care for WandaVision. I stopped watching halfway through.
Right.
So I get that, you know, you really have to watch that show for it to be for you, but like, no, this is filler.
Fair enough. All right, let's see. All right, Alan,
you don't want to weigh in. You want those screeners, huh?
No, I hate when people say that. They don't watch us. They don't watch us to be like, no, cut that guy off.
I don't know. It does feel like they have, but they do. But okay.
I've never had that problem. I've talked shit about Disney shows and Disney, Marvel, and I mean, we killed Secret Invasion.
I wasn't invited to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes or Inside Out 2, so we'll see if a Deadpool and Wolverine invite materializes.
Fair point. But yeah, no, I mean, I like the Agatha. I wasn't excited about Agatha all along, but I liked the trailer, and I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. Because if this veers towards Werewolf by Night, which is this kind of darker horror edge to it, then great, I'm in. If it becomes female empowerment for eight episodes and dancing around and acting the fool, then I'm not going to be that excited about it, you know, to be honest.
I'm like, who are they giving shows now?
Alan Smithy says, yo, Rocha and Sneider, any information on Apple TV's Time Bandit show? It comes out on the 24th, but the first trailer just dropped yesterday. It's a Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clement show. Not a good sign that the trailer dropped so late. I'm excited for it. Yeah, well, I think you heard our thoughts on the trailer there, Smithy. So I think that might be a window into why they're very slow on promoting it. Jeff?
Yeah, nothing else to add, but thank you for the Streamlabs.
Yeah, thank you, Smithy. Hot security guard says, hey guys, nothing to ask, just stopping by to show some love. Thank you. Let's just say it's been one of those weeks at the office, so I'm glad to unwind with you guys. And a pint, always appreciated. Cheers. Yeah, enjoy your drink, brother. And you've earned it, clearly. Dallas says, hi, Jeff and John. I hope you're doing well. A few DC-related questions for y'all. First, any word on which directors they're talking to for The Authority? Second, have you heard of any frontrunner for Hal Jordan or Jon Stewart on the Green Lantern series?
No and no. I really have not heard anything. I still think that like the next big casting stuff, if it's not Batman 2, which I think it probably will be, is maybe you get some stuff on Supergirl at the D20 or not D23 at Comic-Con, and then Booster Gold. I mean, there were rumors. Like, I will acknowledge that I did hear some casting rumors, but they didn't pan out. So I don't know where they are in that process, but I can't imagine it'll be too far out.
Fair point. All right, Anthony V says, happy summer to you both. What are your thoughts on Devil Wears Prada sequel? That was looks like it's rounding into form here. The first movie came out in 2006 when I was navigating internships in college. So it struck a chord with me. I love the cast, and Miranda is a great Meryl Streep role. Yeah, Jeff, I think you talked about this on your newsletter. Any thoughts on the Devil Wears Prada sequel? Do you think it's happening, and when?
I mean, it makes sense that they would revisit this movie, and I like the angle of Miranda dealing with her maybe faded relevance, and a struggling magazine industry, and her needing something from Emily Blunt, who now controls the purse strings at like a big ad company. But I figured Tucci would be back. I don't know how Hathaway fits into this. David Frankel, I just feel like, he may have been the perfect director for this 20 years ago, but I don't know. Can't they find a female director?
That's a good point.
For this. But on the other hand, Frankel did do a nice job and turn the first movie into a hit. So it's like, well, why wouldn't you bring him back if he's still down to do it? It just doesn't excite me because I only saw this movie one time. Does this sound like a movie that you revisit?
I think what you're saying, the angle is interesting because it's a commentary on the changing media landscape and the idea of female friendships, right? And mentors and mentees. I think there's something profound you can say all these years later, as we've changed the society about these kinds of things. I think could be interesting.
But are they going to try to make Miranda Priestly the hero of this story?
Maybe. I would imagine so. Or the comeback.
She learns something in her old age. On the way down, you see the same people that you do on the way up, and all that. All I'll say is that of the four actors who are said to be coming back, I'm tracking something cool for one of the four.
Nice. Okay.
So when I saw this announcement and I saw, I was like, wait, is this person? What's going on here? I thought they were doing this. Okay.
Interesting. All right. We're at 30 minutes, so I'm going to take a quick 3-second break just so I know where to put the commercials. We're right back right after this. All right, let's get back to these and finish them off here, Jeff. Anonymous says, I bet New Line takes Horizons Part 3 and 4, but Fathom Events releases them as a 2 or 3 night special events. Do you anticipate that, Jeff? I don't know if they would do that.
Yeah, it feels like there's too much money wrapped up in that movie for them to say, we're going to do a 2 or 3 Fathom Events thing. Again, guys, it's not the studio that gets to decide this. Costner, he's paying them a distribution fee. So
plus Fathom,
if they want that fee, they got to distribute it.
Right, exactly. Plus Fathom does stuff that's already known, right? I mean, they would distribute it in that way. A lot of classic films. Yeah, they'll do Shakespeare plays from Britain or whatever, but it's mostly films that are already well known, and they make them one night events because of that. I don't think they do that with a film that people don't know about that well or don't like. Ex Machina says, any information on the Flash, Aquaman, or Wonder Woman in Gunn's DCU? Are there any actors in talks to join the Supergirl film? Yeah, Jeff, have you heard anything on this, on the DC front, on any of this stuff?
No.
Okay. Is that a no, yes, and I can't say, or is that a no, you really haven't heard anything?
That's yes, you should subscribe to the newsletter because you never know what kind of goodness will find its way to your eyeballs.
Good call. John W. Ashford says, how about Anthony Starr as the man with no name? Hope all is well, Outlaw and the Insnider. Yeah, Anthony Starr as the man with no name, Jeff. I think he's a bit old to play him, but maybe. Your thoughts?
I think it would all depend on who the director is and who they get to step behind the camera for this.
Yeah, fair point. Tom says, anything on the Avengers 5 director or MCU's X-Men? I mean, we talked about the Avengers 5 director, so I don't know. There's some rumor going on social media that they're going to introduce the X-Men in Deadpool and Wolverine. Do you think that's just bullshit to get engagement?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Okay.
I mean, are they going to introduce the real X-Men?
I doubt it, very seriously. We haven't heard any casting news.
I would be very surprised if X-Men actors were cast months and months and months ago and no one found out and everyone's keeping the secret. Yeah, I don't know.
I do think we might see a Wolverine who might become the Wolverine in the new X-Men, but that's what I sense. If there's any kind of
I'd be surprised. Yeah. I'd be surprised because again, if that's the case and the talent's already signed the contract and
right.
I don't know. It's just tough to keep these kinds of secrets. Jamie, by the way, chimed in on Man with No Name casting and suggested Oscar Isaac.
Again, too old. You got to go young. But a good suggestion. I like Oscar.
Yeah, it's not the man who forgot his name, Jamie. Jesus.
One last one and we'll get out of here. King Sportcow says, John, the Wangers when? Well, we don't live in the same city anymore, brother. And honestly, the Wangers, they're cool guys. I don't think I'm their favorite guy, so I'd be surprised if they ever asked me to be on their show.
I don't think I'm their favorite either, and I love those guys. I loved working with all those guys.
I think they like you. I don't know.
I'm always like, guys, have me on the Wangers.
Yeah.
And they've never had me on, but then they'll probably say, well, you've never had us on the Hot Mic. So
right. Well, I've tried to have the Wangers on the Outlaw Nation way back then. We couldn't line it up because of their schedules. But I enjoyed being on the show the one time I was on the show with them. They're real fun,
Christian, Cody, good guys. Glad I got the chance to work with them at Collider.
Absolutely. And they've got a new movie coming soon with Andrew Guy as the lead in it, a new one of their horror films. I know Grace did a number of those with them as well. So constantly working, constantly doing their things. And they were just all three of them recently at a concert together.
I always check out the shorts that those guys make. So love the Wangers. We'll always support them. Respect.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks everybody for hanging out with us. That's the Hot Mic. You guys are awesome. Please make sure you hit a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, leave your thoughts about everything that we talked about here on the channel. Always link back if you're one of these people who aggregates. Please link back to the video. It really means a lot to us here on the channel. Jeff, another fun show. Please let people know where they can subscribe to your newsletter and find you on social media.
They can find me at the Sneider on Twitter, on Instagram, and online, www.theinsnider.com, Hollywood's #1 leading independent newsletter. And I did get a note from someone that in that G.I. Joe Transformers movie, Hemsworth is playing Duke.
Oh, nice. I can see that. That's actually a great choice for Duke. All right. I love it. I'm in.
Thanks for subscribing.
There you go. You can follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, The Outlaw Nation on Twitch. Don't forget, we got a lot of content coming over the next few days, a lot of reviews. Our review for the Acolyte episode is already up from the Geek Buddies. We got Jedi Way coming up later on this week as well, and other stuff. And a new episode of Spill the Tequila with me and Winston A. Marshall is on tap for tomorrow live. So come and hang out with us then as well. All right, take care of yourselves. Be well, and we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode here of the Hot Mic. Peace.